This is the Lockpicking Newbie, and what I have for you today is the beginning of a series on this Medeco Biaxial mortise lock. This is a pretty special lock because it's a high security lock, it is a purple belt lock, and it has two locking mechanisms. So I showed you the unboxing of this thing. It has the little biaxial logo. And then this particular lock is actually pretty rough. You can see there's a little bit of rust around on the bezel plate there. And then the other thing to notice is the keyway is pretty hacked up. If you rotate in the clockwise direction, it's not bad. But when we go to rotate it in a counterclockwise direction, it's obviously been rough handled a little bit. And the grub screws, 4 of the grub screws are pretty rusted out. Now in playing with this thing, it's completely functional. The inside, which you'll see in a minute, is clean, and I can get the grub screws out. So with that, let's get on to picking. And the other thing for your own, for my viewers' sanity, this series, since this is not a pick and gut for a belt qualification, we are going to do cuts, so you don't have to watch me gut it. So we'll be right back. Okay, guys, we've got the Medeco gutted. Let's just go element by element here. So the main body here has some really interesting features on it. 6 chambers, as you can see there. They are threaded for grub screws. That's not to make it harder to pick. Biggest thing you're going to notice right away is this slot in the cylinder here, and that's for, as you're going to see, that's for the sidebar right in here. And then it's got also a couple of little slots in it. One of them up here and one of them right in here. And those are to protect those are for some little steel inserts for anti-drill. Okay, very nice that this is threaded for grub screws to work on this lock. I'll do this guy first. So the core, there's some interesting features on here which are probably a little hard to see, but the pins rotate, so they have little nubs sticking out of them to limit where they can rotate, and then there's a wider part in the bore here for those pins to ride in. So when you drop the pins in, they need to be pretty close to being aligned, or else they won't fall the rest of the way in. You can see it's just not quite round right there, and that little slot, that's what that's for. A little bit of drill protection, there's a slotted tailpiece, and then there's that keyway. I mean, the keyway isn't really all that cosmic. I can get the pick through there pretty easy. It's the guts that matter. So here's where this sidebar goes. And you're going to see in a minute what those little slots are for. Okay. All right. Let's see what we have here. First of all, here's that drill protection that goes up in the body. There's the actuator. All right. Now, the way the stacks are done, key pin, driver, spring, and then grub screw. Very nice. Now, these key pins have these little slots in them. This particular lock has 6 pins, some of them have 5, and I can barely see some little marks on these pins that might be false gates, but the real gates right here are so pronounced. The false gates don't matter. Okay, very standard drivers. I think these are steel pins all the way around. Copper springs, grub screws, kind of rusty. And then I'll show you this tailpiece. really interesting. I mean, I know a lot of this stuff is available elsewhere, but this is like a journey of discovery for your newbie here. This is a steel piece, and then you've got these little fingers that go in and then the spring. And so in a minute, we're going to see how these fingers engage the gates on the pins, and that's coming right up. Okay, so we've got the cylinder out with the key pins and the sidebar in it. So we're just going to try to illustrate how the sidebar works here. So, you know, that slot in the cylinder engages with the sidebar in the core or plug or whatever. And in its natural state, that sidebar, I'm pushing on it with my thumb, it's protruding. And then you can see, hopefully you can see some of the gates. I'll turn the light on here. You can see the gates. Now most of them look like they're mostly aligned, but they're not all perfectly aligned, and so the sidebar is not free to move. So let's see what happens when we put the key in. I'm going to try to show how the pins rotate. So why that works, I'm going to dump out the pins. Is when we have the sidebar in, these little teeth go through those little slots. What you're looking for is those little, yeah, there they are. See them all sticking up there? And now they're gone. Now they're sticking up. And now they're gone. Sticking up, gone. Sticking up, gone. So those pins have to engage with the gates in here. If I can find where the gate is, it's right there. Okay, that's all I have for you today. As always, thank you all so much for all the participation in the channel. This is the Lockpicking Newbie. Have a good day.